Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Up the Dale podcast. As you can see, this is a bit of a special one for us. We're joined by Stephen Croft of Lancashire. Stephen had a presentation night with us a couple of years ago, made a big impression on the club, and we're delighted he joins us to answer a few questions tonight. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Joining me as usual, co-host Dave McGuire. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Neil. Good evening, Stephen.
Good evening.
We're just going to ask Stephen a few questions, question and answer session, some of which have been asked by club members, some that have come up with from ourselves. Just a little introduction about Steve. He's had an illustrious career at Lancs, made his debut in 2005, capped in 2010, had the very great honour of scoring the winning county championship runs in 2011, captain of the T20 winners in 2015, club captain 2016 and 2017, and had a very successful benefit year in 2018, obviously culminating in a wonderful Bolton Dale presentation night, which was obviously the highlight of that benefit year. We're going to dive straight into some questions, and Dave's going to start us off with a few questions about the current situation we find ourselves in. So Dave, over to you.
Yeah, cheers, Neil. Stephen, well, I guess the first thing we wanted to ask really was, how are you doing and how are you finding lockdown as a professional sportsman? What have you come across anything which has been particularly difficult to deal with at the current time? So how are things going?
Yeah, firstly, it's obviously a bit of a strange situation, really. When it first came about, we didn't know how long, and we still don't know how long it's going to go on for. So initially, it was quite nice, really, to have a bit of time at home. Usually March, April time, out and about. Usually in a different country, Dubai, or we're due to go Dubai and South Africa this year on pre-season tour, and that got cancelled sort of a couple of weeks before. So yeah, it was nice to spend that time at home. I've got two young daughters, so yeah, it's nice to wake up in your own bed every day, and yeah, so that sense, it's been great being around the family every day. But yeah, as time's gone on, obviously miss cricket a lot more, and yeah, there's only so much you can do. Fitness has not been really an issue, really. Got plenty of time, obviously, to work on it. So yeah, kept myself fit, but obviously missed cricket and not been able to get in the nets or anything. But yeah, to sort of mentally try to stay switched on. Sort of last few years, don't feel like I have to do so much almost physical batting. A lot of it is sort of mental these days for me. But yeah, frustrating not being able to get a bat and ball in hand and try and whack a few.
Yeah, definitely. Just on that, I mean, obviously you said, you can keep your fitness in check pretty well at the current time. How long do you think it normally takes, to get your batting and your bowling up to speed, if you will? So how long do you normally think you need to get that practice in?
It varies really, because we're coming off a sort of 4 or 5 month pre-season really. So we obviously most lads hit plenty of balls. We luckily had a week in Mumbai just before this all came about. So we were very fortunate there to go there, some world-class facilities. But yeah, personally, I think just if I hit balls outdoors for a week and have a few throwdowns, I'm usually thereabouts. Sort of got to a stage where I'm sort of quite comfortable with my technique and stuff, and just have a few basic things I usually work on, so it keeps it pretty simple. Yeah, something like bowling usually takes it a little bit longer for me, just to try and get into a rhythm with it, or find something that works. But yeah, not too long really. Once to get outdoors and just hit a few balls really.
Cool. I mean, with this break that we've got for however long it is, do you think it could be beneficial for some professionals to have sort of like a prolonged break from the game and the practice and the playing, the constant schedule of that? Could it possibly, say, extend some people's careers having a break and time away from the game?
I think the physical side of it, yeah, especially fast bowlers, always whinging, running up the hill into the wind. Yeah, we've got a few of them at ours, especially the older lads.
I think we do as well.
But yeah, I think physically, yeah, he's obviously going to prolong a few lads, especially, like I said, those fast bowlers. It's a tough job, to be honest, on the body. But yeah, I think mentally, it's been probably well, it's been a good break for me to get away from the game. Even in the winter, I stay connected to cricket through coaching, really. But at the minute, not been able to do much of that or any of that really. So yeah, totally cricket free has been sort of nice in a way. But yeah, the longer it goes on, it's starting to get into a little bit of frustration now. But yeah, I think some lads will be in different boats. Some lads have probably hated it from word go and wanted to get out there. Well, I think I'm trying to stay on the positive side and look for the positives in what we've been dealt, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do at the moment, I suppose. So if we go back to the start of your career, playing junior cricket at Blackpool, and presumably that meant playing in the Pally Shield junior cricket setup. Just wanted to ask, really, what are your memories of that time? Do you have any memorable matches that you played in when you were a junior in those Blackpool sides?
Yeah, I remember it quite fondly, really, being first joined Blackpool as a 10-year-old, and yeah, from then really the first year or two played in sort of multiple sides, really. So yeah, played 3, 4, 5 games midweek, really. So yeah, got plenty of travelling in from a young age, really, even though it was around the Fylde coast and the area. But yeah, it was great to travel around and see all the new grounds. That back then was a really nice thing, really, and to get that experience and to play so often, really. As a youngster, you don't want to be in the nets too much. I think winter's quite beneficial and good, but you want to be out in the middle playing, really. And I got plenty of that as a youngster, and like you said, in the Pally Shield, many of the Pally Shield clubs. Yeah,
I bet it must have been fabulous as a young player coming through the ranks to be able to play all your home games at somewhere like Stanley Park. It must have been quite something.
Yeah, it still is a great ground, and yeah, as a youngster, it was brilliant, and yeah, they've always been quite favourable for batting as well. So yeah, I always seem to like it there.
I've got to say, I've not played at Stanley Park myself, but my kids have played there on a regular basis, and as Dave says, it always, to me, going there. My daughter played the last game of their ladies' season there last year, and luckily won the league there. And it was just such a lovely place to be able to do that, because it is somewhere different to pretty much every other ground, certainly in the Palace Shield, but in a lot in the Northwest. And you just don't get grounds like that. And it is a special place. There's no other way of putting it.
Yeah, and well, my best memory of the ground obviously is the 2011 first class game. We played there and I got 100, and yeah, it's a special ground, really. It's for a Northern League or a league ground. It's quite big, and it's got sides to it as well where it doesn't feel too open. It feels quite enclosed, which is nice, and especially when you get a few crowds on. Even growing up when playing there for Blackpool, you got a few on the embankment and in the stands. It's got a nice feel to it, so it has and always will have a special place for me, Blackpool.
Hopefully we get to see you back there with Lancashire at some point in the near future. And when I was looking on the Lancashire website profile for yourself, it said you spent time growing up in Sri Lanka as well. Just wanted to ask what that was like in Sri Lanka, what it was like learning to play cricket there. It sounds really interesting.
Yeah, so it was my dad's job that took us out there, really. So he travelled around a little bit, sort of a few months here and there. I think he went to China, Hong Kong, and a job came up in Sri Lanka, and it was for 2 or 3 years. So we decided as a family we'll go out there. So I got schooled out there. I was 7 at the time, so I was there till 7 till 10 years old. And yeah, before then I was football mad. I probably never picked up a cricket bat. I think my dad had bought me one back once, and I used it as a goalpost in the park, and I left it there. It wasn't so happy. But yeah, when I went out there at school, it's all I played every day. So upon returning to England, I was probably a bit more advanced than the local lads in England, really, because at school we'd never played it really at school. Especially only had a few months at junior school before I went. Generally, it was rounders and football, and no real cricket, really, unless you were affiliated to a cricket club. So yeah, I was quite advanced when I came back, really.
We just touched on Stanley Park then, and how fair to say we all think it's a really great ground to play at. What would you say would be the best, worst grounds, professional and club grounds, that you've played at in your career? Your favourites, not so
Lords obviously up there for many cricketers. The tradition and everything, you get spoiled. And to be honest, the first time I went there, I was like, well, it's not even that much. It's not that much really. But there, once the game went on and you went to lunch and got to pick up. And there was waitresses and waitresses serving you food, and it seems it did get a lot better. And the hospitality after the game, we take you over to the pub and you chat with the opposition. I thought it was a great touch, and it is such a special place really. And then walk around the museum, and it is special. Unfortunately, I've not played at a Lord's final. I was 12th man for one, but it'd been there. So in those 90s when Lancs were getting there regularly, I'm sure it was a favourite for Lancs fans as well. But obviously that's up there, and Trent Bridge is a nice ground these days as well. It tends to be grounds that you do well at. So I like Edgbaston as well. I had some good knocks there. So obviously they've invested in it as well, in both of those grounds, and then sort of abroad when I had a couple of spells in New Zealand, there's some beautiful grounds over there. I don't know if many people seen Queenstown, where it's sort of in between a couple of mountains and an airport. Such a picturesque ground, and one called Pukekohe Park, also a brilliant ground. And it was a great time travelling around New Zealand and seeing their grounds. But as for the worst ones, I don't really want to back too many people. But there's a few in Division 2 that aren't too nice. So it made us try and get out that division as quick as possible. Really.
It's funny you mentioned Queenstown actually, because we've been doing some virtual matches on Cricket 19, and last weekend we played Parnell from New Zealand, who had Lockie Ferguson and Corey Anderson as part of their team that played us. And obviously Corey Anderson got the world's fastest century at Queenstown. And when we in the build up to the game, a lot of the lads were watching that video, and I think more of the comments were about actually how beautiful the ground was than actually Corey Anderson's knob. It's just such an amazing ground with there's literally no stands. It's all just that grass bank, but it's just must be an unbelievable place.
Oh yeah, and then a few planes come over, and you start daydreaming, and you're looking at the mountains, and and it's just a special country as well. Very hospitable people, and had a great time out there, and a lovely country.
Just on Lords, I mean, there's one thing I wanted to ask was, you hear about the much fabled Lords lunch. How do you actually manage to go back out for the afternoon?
Oh, you just hope you've already batted, or you're out in maybe at fine leg or something. But you sort of go up there thinking, right, I'm not gonna have a dessert today or anything like that. But you just can't help yourself.
So just looking forward a little bit, just asking really about sort of plans after professional cricket. Would you consider staying part of professional cricket in a capacity of coaching, for example, or something like that? Or would you continue playing club or amateur cricket, either in a playing or coaching capacity at all? Have you had any thoughts about that?
I think coaching is the route I want to go down, really. Currently on my level 4, which hopefully qualify in October. So that would be the sort of highest qualification I can take so far. So I'd ideally like to transition straight into coaching. I've been doing sort of academy work and the EPP work in the winter for the last sort of 3 or 4 years now. And travelled around a little bit coaching this winter as well. Went over to Ireland and did a few sessions in Cumbria and really enjoyed it actually. And so hopefully just transition into that. And it obviously depends where the work is as well. Something like most cricket things in sport, something you can travel with really. So if something came up at Lancs, that obviously would be ideal. But I think going away and getting out of your comfort zone and the current environment would also be a good learner as well. So ideally stay where I am, but something I wouldn't mind travelling with and gaining other experiences.
Really good. I think Neil's got some questions lined up where we're just sort of trying to think of things from a club cricket angle.
Yeah, we tried to think of something. I won't say take you out of your comfort zone here, Stephen, or anything, but just think of something from more of a club angle. So, obviously, there are certain stereotypes at clubs, and we want to know at Lancs who would fit into these stereotypes. So, who would be the one that would categorically forget to bring the subs on match day?
Be Tom Bailey.
There's a surprise. There's a surprise.
Yeah. Impressive, lad.
I've played with Tom at Vernon's, so that really doesn't surprise me.
He forgets anything, but if it's something to do with money, he'll forget it even more. But yeah, he's forgetful type, Tom.
I was also at Vernon's with Tom when he was like a really young lad coming through the junior ranks, and I remember I think it was one game where I was ending up captaining the Sunday team, and we'd just come off the rain with 2 to win, and so we came back on after about half an hour or so, and I managed to play a trademark, just edge through third slip for a single to get Tom on strike. And I remember just saying to him, look, just drop the ball and we'll run and we'll get the win and off we go. 4 balls out of 4, he tries to slap it over cover to the boundary. And every time I kept going up to him saying, Tom, just drop the ball. We'll run. Yeah, we'll do that. 5th time he tries, he hits it for 4. And just, what can you do?
That sums him up.
Yeah, good lad. Usual one at Wantleydale. This is a big one for Wantleydale. Non-punctuality. We have a couple that, you tell them 12:30 meet and it's 1:15. Who would be the last out of the Lancs lads to arrive at the ground?
Probably Danny Lamb. He's got he's not late very often, but he just has some weird excuses. But we know he's usually getting his hair, especially if it's a TV game. He's getting his hair cut. He's getting his beard trimmed off someone else, and yeah, he's got the book of excuses as well. So it'll probably be Danny Lamb. The
next one comes straight out of my book. I have the nickname Grumpy for a reason. And actually, I just could throw. So I was speaking to my mum about this earlier today because she watches the podcast. And she actually mentioned an ex-Lancs player here. It's the one most likely to fall out with an umpire. And she suggested Aaron Lilly because he now plays at the club where they go and watch in Huddersfield. So she mentioned Aaron Lilly, and I know Aaron's a fiery character, but who out of the current lads would be the most likely to fall out with a club umpire, shall we say?
Probably Matt Parkinson. Spinners, there's something always up with spinners, whether it's the ball, run-ups or the weather. So yeah, anything that hits a pad, you're out with Parky. So yeah, probably Parky. Nice. He'd apologise afterwards, but he'd be grumpy.
sounds like you, Dave. Actually, to be fair,
it does. To be fair, yeah, I'm hearing quite.
Not that I'm lightening your bowling to Matt Parkinson. The only lightness is that it's leg spin, but that's it. Unbelievable. Right, touching on teasers we did with Lords earlier. Who would be the one to enjoy their tea most at the break?
He'd probably Rob Jones. He loves his food. So yeah, when we're fielding, he's quiet for about an hour and a half, and then come half an hour to lunch or tea or end of plays, he chirps up. So you know it's coming to the end of the session because yeah, Jones will be buzzing about and he'll be able to smell the food.
Nice one. This one's got 2 aspects to it. So it's sort of club cricket, but it's actually sort of going back into lockdown a little bit. Who would be the player that you would least like to be locked down with?
Probably Jonesy again because he's a bit of a live wire. He's like on his days off, he's walking up mountains. He's just doesn't stay still. So yeah, days off, I like to chill out and spend time with family. But yeah, he'd be wanting to go to the other end of the country and back in a few hours. So yeah, probably Jonesy.
And on the flip side of that, who do you think you would most likely to be locked down with?
Probably Pazza, Stephen Parry. similar age. Yeah, he's got kids as well, so he knows what stresses they bring. So yeah, he'd be good for a bit of a yarn at night and have a few nightcaps with.
Excellent. Right, this one we're just going to touch on. One of our lads, Sam Bolton, who is a mad Lancs fan, asked us to ask you for your top 1 to 11 Lancs team from history. That would have really floated his boat. But we're just going to narrow it down a bit because we could be forever talking about that. Who would you say are your top 3 Lancs players of all time?
Well, a few memorable ones. When I first came in the side, Stewie Law was a big one for me. My first sort of full season, he was captain and put a lot of faith in me, really. So as a youngster coming into the side, making you feel wanted was brilliant, really. So he backed me as a captain, and in that same side as well, we had Fred as well, who was a local lad and similar. Like, made me feel welcome. And obviously, we had that sort of geographical connect of him just down the road at St Anne's and me at Blackpool, and called me a donkey lasher a few times, but didn't mind that. But yeah, he was another one, sort of stuck his arm around me and made me feel really welcome and part of the team. And so Stewie and Fred were great for that when I first came in. And then we had a few great overseas as well. When early in my career, VVS Laxman was one, and then we had a couple of short spells at the club, nothing long, but yeah, just being out in the middle with him you learned so much, and he's such a kind guy off it as well. And another one I batted with a lot on the field is Ashwell Prince. He had a bit of a longer stay at Lancs, and yeah, he almost had a Lancs accent by the end of it. And yeah, someone who I really loved batting with. He loved to get in the battle. So what any situation, you could flip it. If you played T20, you could start whacking it, or if it was a bit of a spicy one, he'd dig down and take a few blows and grind out a score. So Ashley was someone who I loved playing with. And another local lad, Jimmy Anderson, obviously needs no introduction, but just seeing the way he trains, really. I think he's 37 now, and he's still got plenty of energy, and he's still a student of the game. When it comes to any opposition, he's looking them up and seeing how to get them out, and not just relying on his skills and on his skills as well. He's still developing them as well. I don't think he's got to a stage where I think, right, I've got to where I am, and that's all I need to do. He's kept developing, and I think that's shown in his Test match performance. I think his bowling average just keeps going down year on year. So he's a great professional as well, and I get changed next to him as well. So he's another grumpy one that you have to try and wind up sometimes. But yeah, he's been great for obviously Lancashire cricket, England cricket, and world cricket. So yeah, they've been some great names as well. And Jimmy being from Lancs as well, and Fred. I think for me that's what it's about, bringing on your own and hopefully making some England players, but using that academy and bringing those players through. We've had some great ones come through, and hopefully it'll continue.
I did think you were going to actually say Jimmy was the one that was most likely to fall out with the umpire, to be honest. I thought you might have brushed over that, but yeah, I saw Jimmy back in training this week in the outdoor nets at Lang. So good to see Jimmy straight back at it again, given the slight lockdown restrictions on the England players, isn't it? So yeah, good to see Jimmy back at it. Right, thanks for that. That's my section finished, Stephen. I'm going to throw it back to Dave just for a couple of finishing questions.
Yeah, we just had a couple to finish with. Neil mentioned at the top of the introduction about coming down to our presentation evening in 2018, and I think everybody at the club will, probably agree that it's probably one of the best things that we've done as a club in recent years. Everybody really enjoyed it. In fact, our 13 captain Mick Berry actually mentioned it on an earlier podcast that it was his favourite all-time memory of being part of the club. Just wanted to ask, really, just for sort of the club interest, I suppose, what you remember of that visit and what you thought of things.
Yeah, I do remember it. Actually, it was a great evening. Yeah, it was part of my testimonial dinner and a year, sorry. And it was great to get out to the Palace Shield, to some of the grounds I'd not had a chance to visit. You alluded to it since I was a young teenager, really, or a 10-year-old, and it was great to get out to these grounds. And it was a special evening, really. It felt, no offence, it's not a massive club, but I think what he did have was a great sense of sort of community there, and the feel as soon as you walked in the door was very welcoming for someone who I don't think I knew hardly anyone in the room, which is always a little bit daunting at times. But to me, to feel welcome and still have that connection afterwards is what it's about. And especially, I feel that's what sport does for communities, and especially cricket as well. It's such a welcoming sport, and one that you can be competitive on the field, and afterwards you can have a drink with the opposition in the bar and speak about sort of games gone by. And so it's a special sport, and I think that's why so many people love it and are missing it at the minute. And not just the cricket aspect, just being in the clubhouse as well. I think that's where I'd probably done most of my learning throughout my career is in the clubhouse, speaking to players you play with and the opposition. And as a youngster, yeah, I got looked after really well from people and looking after me in clubhouses, keeping an eye on you, and that great family feel. And I definitely got that feel when I came down.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. That's what it's about at, I guess, club and professional level. Just that, that togetherness and spirit going forward. Just finally, we just wanted to ask if you have a message for amateur cricketers in not just the Palace Shield, but in Lancashire and across the whole country at the current time, and anything you wanted to pass on.
Yeah, just to stick with it, really. Obviously, it's frustrating not getting out there, but like I just said earlier, it is a brilliant sport, and it does bring so many people together and the community. And there might be other temptations to go and play golf, but that's pretty boring too. but yeah, it's just to stick with your club, no matter how big or small it is. Most clubs rely on members, and yeah, when they are open and safe to get back to, is try and support us as best as possible. And I think for me, I'm really passionate about the youngsters and about youngsters coming through, whether it be club cricket or county cricket or international. Really, I think they are our future. So yeah, I think giving a great environment for those kids, whether it would be even just dropping them off at a club or spending time with them, playing or like I said, it's just taking them down to a local club, getting them involved. And it's not just the sport aspect. There's so much more to it. The sort of life skills, the social stuff. And yeah, I think, so at the meantime, we've got to be patient. But when we are allowed to get up and running, is get down, support your local club. And I'm sure we'll all look after each other that little bit extra when this is all blown over.
Superb.
Excellent, Dave. Well, thanks for asking those questions. Stephen, once again, many thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Just what you've touched on there in terms of just keeping things going. This is the very reason why we started the podcast and the virtual games, is just trying to keep that cricket spirit going in some way, shape or form. So having you come on and supporting this means a lot to us. So thanks very much for that, and thanks for joining us. Lovely.
No problem.
Thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate you watching Up the Dale again. We'll be back again soon with more action and more virtual matches to come. So keep an eye on social media. Thanks, Stephen, once again. Thanks for Dave for joining me, and thanks for watching Up the Dale.